Attention, on court. Here we go.
Let's take advantage of this.
I'm Mitch Docker, and this is Life in the Pelotons Race Radio. Over to you.
Yeah, hello everyone. Welcome to Life in the Pelotons Race Radio. I'm Harry, and this is Stu.
Yeah, hi. Hello.
As Stu mentioned, I've been to the races, Stu. I've been to Flanders and Roubaix.
We live for that.
At Race Radio, we really like to, I guess give the fans' eye view of cycling. We're not journalists. We're definitely not. We don't have a nose for a good story. But
I can't spell.
But we do love the stories behind racing and all of the fun and weird things involved in cycling. And I did a great Flanders pilgrimage with my dad last week, where we took the camper and we stood on the Eau de Quarmont and drank beers and watched the race go by 3 times, and it was fantastic.
Amazing. Did you boo the VIP tent?
There was quite a lot of singing and chanting at the VIP tent from the non-VIP. It's quite funny.
Nice.
So that our listeners maybe know, like, Flanders is one of the races where VIP tents have most been introduced as a kind of part of the offering, and all across the race course there are VIP tents on key parts of the course. And in some ways I kind of get it, because it's quite hard to monetize cycling. It's not like a captive audience in a stadium where you can sell tickets. So I get why they do it.
Burn your mouth on a pie.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, you can do that as well, obviously, but
so I get it, but it does somewhat. Yeah, they're all sort of champagne quaffing, and it's literally just like in football, where in the second half, 15 minutes after the first half's started, that section of the stand, the VIP is still empty. It's kind of like they all suddenly rush in just to watch the race go by, and then they bugger off to drink champagne. Whereas us hardened fans were drinking cans and saving our spot on the barricades.
Hot cans of Jupiler on the
exactly.
Yeah.
So that was Flanders.
I'd like to think that in the VIP tent they've got like themed cocktails, like the Marianne Vos. It would just be everything would be in it. It's got everything
it can
in
do
it.
everything you want it to be. Or the Johan Museo, that comes served in a cobblestone that they've carved out. Yeah, nice. And that's probably got...
It's got horse blood in
exactly. it. Exactly. That's got some kind of illegal products inside it. So that was brilliant. And then I stayed on because I was working at Roubaix. And guess what, Stu? I spoke to Mathieu van der Poel.
Magical.
Can you believe it? I said approximately 7 words to him. I watched him take a piss at the side of the road, and then I filmed him riding. That's quite...
The watching him take a piss, I take it that was pleasure, not business, that part.
Yeah, that was a separate occasion. No.
Lovely.
And so, I worked at the men's and women's race, and I managed to sneak in, even though I didn't have an accreditation, I managed to sneak in, these are old tricks of the trade, into the velodrome bit, where all the riders kind of slump in the velodrome at Roubaix on the floor, and they look knackered, and they're all crying and laughing, and it's like they've gone through something terrible, which they definitely have.
What was the trick? Is it because you also look knackered, or is it because...
Well, actually, I got hold of somebody else's accreditation who looked nothing like me, and to be clear, he had a full head of hair, which I do not. And the security guard looked at it, and he looked at me, and he looked at it again, and I was like, oh God, I'm losing it here. So I whipped my cap off, and I was like, I cut my hair. And he said, go on, in you go. So that was
well done.
That was Flanders and Roubaix. I've had a wonderful time on Cloud 9. And you're going to Liège.
I am going to Liège, yeah. I've got also going for work, actually. I'm going to do something exciting with MAP and Team Jaco Alula Jaco.
Brilliant.
I can't really tell you about it yet, but it's coming soon. It'll be exciting. That'll be fun.
We'll keep our... Well... I don't even know what it is. Should I keep my eyes peeled? My ears peeled?
Yeah.
Is it
both of them?
Sensory?
Can you peel your ears?
I can try.
Yeah, please do.
So
it'll be coming to social medias near you very soon, which is quite exciting.
We're in this great period of the season where we go from the sort of flat cobbled races, transferring across on Brabantse Pijl and Amstel Gold into the hilly stuff. So we're recording on Monday night, and maybe by the time you listen to this, Flesh Wallon will have already happened. the longest kilometre in cycling up the Mouderouille, and then Liège, Bastogne, Liège, which I think is an underrated race. I absolutely love it. I've been lucky enough to go a few times.
Yeah, you and I have been there in the camper together before, haven't we? We
have. More on that later. But yeah, for that reason, we've decided to do a bit of an Ardennes focus for Life in the Peloton's Race Radio this month. And actually, a bit of an EF special. Who have we got on the show this week? We've got a couple of special guests.
We do. We've got young pro Archie Ryan's going to speak to us. And then, I suppose I've used young now, so we should use old, really, shouldn't we? Salty Sea Dog, Tom Southam, DS, extraordinaire, Bristol legend, beautiful man. He's gonna chat to you as well, isn't he?
Let's give a bit of an intro to Archie. I first met Archie 3 years ago at the Tour de l'Avenir, which is a brilliant race. It's kind of like the Tour de France for under 23s. So I went to make a documentary there, a 2-part documentary, and I was focusing on riders that, and it's quite cool because they're at this real nascent stage in their lives and careers where they're all 18, 19, 20, 21, where they're at the point of turning pro, and they're on the path to greatness, many of them, but it doesn't guarantee that you're going to make it. And Archie really stood out. He came second, and he actually really messed up a sprint for the win. It was him and Keon Uijtdebroeks, who's gone on to ride for Jumbo-Visma and do really good things in the sport already. But Archie really caught my attention because he had a great character, and he was he was taking the piss out of me, basically, even straight after having lost.
Deservedly, probably.
Straight after having lost what would have been the biggest win of his career. So I thought, this kid's got something about him. So yeah,
he does have something
should
about
we
him.
hear what he has to say? You had a chat with him, and let's hear it.
Archie, thank you for joining us on Life in the Peloton's Race Radio. It's a pleasure to have you. This isn't your first time having a crack at the old lady, is it? This is...
No, that's a bit weird to say, isn't it? Have a crack at the old lady. No, thanks for having me. This is my second time having a crack at the old lady. Hopefully she is kinder to me this year and doesn't beat me.
Yeah. We can get into that maybe a little bit, but I thought to start, what we could do is maybe you could introduce yourself to the listeners.
I'm Archie. I'm 23. I'm from Ireland, and I race for EF Education Easy Post.
Nailed it. When Harry and I met Mitch, who is obviously our boss now,
right.
He couldn't get the team name right. It was like 15 takes or something like that. So that's fine now.
I think I got it right. I'm pretty sure I did.
Anymore. Yeah, I think you start that one. I wonder if you could give us a bit of an idea, like a bit of a potted history of your life in cycling so far.
Yeah, my career started at Jumbo Devo as a first year U23, so I spent 4 years there, which is great. And the past 2 years, well, it's my second year in EF. Been racing since I was 11 from Bray Wheelers in Wicklow in Ireland, and yeah. I had some knee injuries in the past that kind of held me back. I had multiple years where I didn't race as a U23, so it sort of held me back a bit, and I was struggling to get better. But thankfully, I've met some very kind people who've helped me over the years, and I'm in one piece these days, and I can race my bike, which is great crack.
Starting at 11 as well, that's probably... I can imagine the meeting you'd have with the careers advisor at school where...
Yeah, I want to be a pro cyclist. Yeah. I said exactly this to my school counselor, and she was like, good for you. Nice one. You do that. She had no idea. No idea what was going on. She's like, who is this loser? Wants to race bikes.
How do you do that? I don't know. I can help you with a career in IT or
What uni course are you going to do? I'm like, I'm not going to uni. Are you joking? She's like,
Did you have a fallback in mind, or was this it for you?
No, this was it. I mean, I started way too young and probably took it way too seriously and started other sports way too early, which I'd say has held me back. More than anything. If there was a kid these days, I'd be like, play footy until you're 17. Crack on, have a bit more fun, there's more life. But it all worked out, and I didn't have a fallback. I signed to ride for the Diva team when I was still in 6th year, or going into 6th year, so I still had a year left of school. And I'd worked out that, in Ireland anyway, you could go back to uni and when you're 24, not based on your school results, just based on an interview. And that for the worse, it was. I mean, I regret this, but I then sacked off school basically because I was like, I can just go back to uni based on an interview and just be like, I was a pro cyclist, not really pro, continental cyclist, for X amount of years, and then it didn't work out. And look at me, I want to go back to uni. They'd probably take me. I'd say it's kind of a good story, isn't it?
For real.
Yeah, but I kind of got this idea in my head that I can just flunk school and not bother, which I do not recommend, and I think it was a terrible life decision, but here I am.
Oh, it's working for you. And I mean, you're 23 now as well, so you still, if you change your mind.
I got a year left and I can go back to uni. It's mega. See you boys next year.
Maybe we could turn the podcast into like your interview. And
my transition to university.
I mean, that's a more interesting life story than I reckon most uni students have when they rock up at the doors of higher education, as it were. It sounds like you've got a bit of wisdom up the sleeve, but what else would you say?
I don't know if my friends would call it wisdom. Probably like stupidity or something.
Optimism.
Yeah, probably a bit of tism in there, something like that. My best asset, I don't know. Like whenever I give people advice, I just say, just remember it's coming from Archie, so don't trust it. Just a little caveat. I don't know what's best. I'm just here to help.
Do you have friends back home that make any sense of what you're doing? And have you got like a little supporters club?
I'd say a few of the boys are supporters club. I mean, they're all pretty much ex-cyclists. If they're non-cyclists, they did cycle, so they all sort of get it more or less. But they're the more fun ones, probably the guys who don't ride anymore, and the guys I like to hang out with as much as possible. But most of my boys and girls are just cyclists or ex-cyclists, so we all get it.
You make a good point though. It's like when you get home, I guess the last thing you want to speak about is
exactly
work.
No one wants to hear about how fucking Tour de Romandie went. Yeah, boys, I was hanging on last wheel of the peloton for 6 days. It was really fun.
They're like, where?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, Romandie, bro.
Speaking of, I mean, where are you now? You're ready for, because we're coming into Ardennes week, right? So where are you as we speak?
So I'm in Belgium, near a place called Spa, funnily enough. And we're at the Philippe Gilbert Hotel on La Redoute. Really bougie hotel, quite nice. And we're having a good time.
Yeah, pulling out the stops.
They are. We got the men's and women's team here, so we've got 2 chefs. We're extremely spoiled. So life's good. I can't complain.
You've done the Ardennes already. You were EF's leader at Flèche Wallonne last year, right? But then you punctured going into the Mur. That's a bit of a nightmare. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah. Well, anyone who watched last year will remember it got extremely wet and extremely cold very, very quickly. And
not a day.
No, it was not a day. And we were doing really, really well, but none of us went back for rain jackets. And we didn't think it was going to be that bad, and that was a vital area. I think Richie went back and got his rain jacket. No one else did, and he was the only finisher. Ben finished as well, but he was too cold. So if you didn't wrap up that day, you were defo cooked. And I think I punctured before the second time the Mur, and the car just wasn't there because I think there's so many dropped riders, and I was standing on the side of the road for like 2 minutes, and then game over. At least I can say I didn't stop because of the cold. I stopped because I had a puncture.
Yeah. You get to keep the hard man.
Exactly.
Hard man card.
I definitely wasn't shivering anyway. Definitely wasn't.
With your sort of Ardennes attributes, your punchy abilities, these races should suit you, right? Doing them last year, did that make you think maybe one day, I could be a contender here? What do you reckon? Or did it make you think, holy shit, these races are hard?
Yeah, both. Bike racing's hard, man. It's just like, I mean, you go to a low level 0.2, 0.1, and it's just like, Jesus Christ, and then you go to a world tour race, and you're just like, sometimes how do you compete? But after doing them last year, it was a really cool experience, and it was probably my biggest races at the time that I've done. It was my first monument in Liège, and Flèche was super cool too. So I definitely think it's something for me in the future. I'm a kind of like a punchy climber, so it sort of should be my bread and butter racing. I'll let you know after this week, perhaps.
You're not the only Irish cyclist, right? On EF, there's a trio. There's you, Darren Rafferty, and then Ben Healy, you mentioned already. Which one of you is the best?
I'm just gonna have to say Darren because he's a national champ, and Ben's just gonna have to agree with that for now, Unless if he wants to come back and get it back, then. But like, if you're the national champ, you're just the best rider in the country, aren't you?
There you go. There you go. I like that diplomatic answer.
Yeah.
Pro cycling has been a lifelong dream. And would you say it's all it's cracked up to be, or is it just bloody hard work?
I think it's a bit of both. Obviously, it's a dream, and it's very easy to forget that at points when it's super hard. There's points when it's like, oh man, I don't want to do this anymore. But then there's points where you do well, or you get a win, or team wins, or whatever, and you're just like, this is bloody class. But I think that's like anything in life. There's good bad moments, the bad moments, and if you didn't have the bad moments, you wouldn't have the good moments. So,
Yeah, for real.
That's the spice of life.
Yeah. Have you got any techniques for getting through those low points? Is that like a phone call back home to a mate that doesn't ride their bike anymore, or?
Yeah, probably. But it's just remembering that, I think if you just keep knocking on the door, something's good going to happen. So like if you're having a rough period, just keep on trying. Eventually you'll come around and you'll realize what's going on, or you get a good result or whatever. But you just got to roll with the punches sometime, I think. It's just a tough sport. So you got to get used to having bad days, because you're going to have a lot of bad days, I think. God, I'm so wise,
What?
aren't I? Fuck.
I mean, there's only one winner, like you say, so you have to. Yeah,
This is it.
Right.
This is it. And unless you're Pog, you're not winning a lot.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's the other thing. When you do win, you got to enjoy it. When you get a good result, you got to enjoy it. Because I mean, if you win a bike race and then like, okay, back on job, super serious, and then you're back to not winning bike races, you're just like, why don't I enjoy that more?
What would the best thing about being a pro cyclist be for you? I mean, like you say, getting a good result.
I'm a results-driven person, so I think just winning bike races is class. There's no better feeling, and I think it's why we do it. It's the chess game in the final of a race when you're feeling good and you're sort of in control and you can make moves and stuff. It's just no feeling like it. It's just adrenaline.
Are there any that would be like, like what's on your hit list? What would be the one that you'd love to get?
The races I probably dream of winning. I mean, Tour Stage, World Champs. I think World Champs is the coolest race out there. Monument. It's just the big one days. I think that's so cool. And it's just the whole vibe around the race, and it's just electric. It's just super, super cool racing.
Yeah. So you're excited for the weekend?
I'm really excited for the weekend. Liège will be really sick.
You said you've got two chefs. That sounds pretty great. How kind are they to you? Like, do you have what's your fave thing?
They are very, very kind, and they're super hardworking. And we got two chefs because there's two teams here, us and the women. So they have a busy week ahead for them because they're cooking for a lot of people. The nutritionists and all the recipes that they make is aligned with what the nutritionists want us to eat. But they make us treats, and if we request things, they will make them. They're very, very talented. So we're super lucky.
Aligned with what the nutritionists want us to eat sounds like maybe a little bit miserable, is it? I mean,
look, we're not eating fucking, burgers and chips every day, unfortunately, as I, perhaps would wish I was. But, you can make pasta, rice, all these high carb, slightly boring foods. Nice. Yeah. Still, it's not just rice and chicken, plain rice and chicken, then life would be tough. But as long as there's good stuff to put around it, it's pretty good.
Do you have a go-to? You said you can ask for treats. Do you have a go-to?
Treats? Are we talking like post-race or before race?
Both. Let's do both.
Before race, I would probably... Before race, I'm actually kind of a serious rice and eggs guy, or pancakes and just loads of maple syrup. You just want to eat lots of good stuff before a race. Otherwise, I've done it before where I just go ham on a bunch of bad food, thinking, oh yes, I need to eat as much as possible. And I feel a bit sick, during the race, but I ate way too much. No. Gotta say for after the race, but after the race, I'll probably eat anything, and probably I just want like a pint of Ben & Jerry's and an actual pint, probably,
do you have a favorite flavor?
In my local supermarket, the best two flavors are Half Baked and Netflix and Chilled. They are bloody good. These are class. I had my tonsils out one off season 2 years ago, and I think for like 2 weeks I averaged 1.5 pints of Ben & Jerry's a day. So I got to taste the rainbow there and decide what is the best flavor. So I feel like I'm a bit of an expert.
Yeah, shout out Ben & Jerry's. We should see if we can get you like your own personal sponsor.
Yeah, there we go. Imagine a Ben & Jerry's helmet. Wouldn't that be great? Be like a Red Bull
love
one.
that.
Be like a Red Bull one, but with Ben and Jerry's all over it. Be class.
We should. I don't know how. We should make that happen somehow. Someone out there can help us make a Ben and Jerry's helmet. I'm sure.
Yeah. Awesome.
Oh, that's amazing. You've made me want ice cream now.
Same.
Sorry, you're gonna have to wait.
Yeah,
you're gonna have to wait. You're staying in Philippe Gilbert's hotel, but you'll not be eating there, will you? So that's
Yeah, no. It's slightly a shame because it's a really nice hotel. Like the staff was having sushi last night at the buffet. The buffet was just sushi, and we're just like, oh my god. I mean, like, and it's sometimes you got to do the walk of shame past the chef to like the staff buffet and be like, yeah, this looks good. I'm having some of this too. You know, or you got to wait for them to leave, and then you just got to hit the staff buffet. Yeah, just a little snack.
Bit more of the diplomacy. You're like,
exactly. You know. Yeah, you feel bad because they've made all this lovely food, but sometimes you need a bit of both, you know.
Nice one, Archie. Thank you for chatting. It's the evening. What are you going to do now? It's what 5 to 8. Early night. You're going to bit of Netflix.
I'll probably read my book and then call it a night when I feel
nice
super
one.
tired.
What are you reading?
I am reading The Poppy War by R.F. Kuang. It's really good, actually. It's really good.
Go. We should start a book club. There we go. Ben and Jerry's helmet and a book club.
Yeah, mate. Join me.
Top notch. Cheers, mate.
Thanks so much. Have a good one.
Top young rider trying to make his way in the big bad world of the pros. He's only, he's only like 53 kilos, Stu. He's absolutely, he's a proper pocket climber. Someone to look out for sure.
If he gets that Ben and Jerry's helmet like he's after, so fingers crossed we can make that work.
Talking to these cyclists, Stu, can't help but make you kind of want to get out on your bike. So I've got to ask, have you been getting out recently?
I actually have, which has been, I mean, as you know, but listeners might not, we had a second child who's just recently turned one, so free time's been at a premium for me. But I got out the other week. I did 300 odd kilometres riding the Hebridean Way, and in the run up to that, I was a bit nervous, but we were helped out because listeners of the podcast will know that we've been sponsored by Join Cycling, which is an AI powered training app. Where you can put in your goals, you put in your details, and it gives you a training plan. I've been rubbish at this in the past because I don't know how to put it. I mean, you know me well enough, but I tend to overdo it.
You'd ride a stage of the Tour de France like you were doing the Kieran, put it that way.
Yeah, the neutralised section, and then I would be like, sorry, let me get in the car. I need to go home. But no, so it's been nice because I've not done so well with training in the past. So having joined cycling, as I say, it's AI powered. So there's no stupid human element to go wrong here. I'm talking about myself, obviously. It just takes your availability, it takes your goals, it prescribes some workouts. Because one of the problems I've had in the past is like I used to think, oh, this isn't hard enough, and I would turn up my FTP on. I'd be like, no, this is impossibly hard. I don't know what I'm doing. Clearly, I don't know what I'm doing. But fortunately, John have helped me out with that. And when I was away, it's beautiful. I had a great few days riding because the legs were good.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
And you had a very smart AI robot to help you. The only thing I really use AI for is to write me rhyming couplets. So could it give you beautiful rhyming couplets to set your training plan? Because if it does that, then I'm all in.
Maybe we can put in a little request. It'll read poetry to you whilst you're also doing your over-unders or whatever you happen to be doing.
Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? thou art much...
Shall I compare thee to a sweaty chamois?
Thou art more lovely and temperate. Listeners to Life in the Peloton can get a period of time, which I can't remember off the top of my head, free through Join Cycling.
Yeah. 30-day free trial.
Thanks, Stu. At least one of us is on it.
You're welcome.
All info is in the show notes.
Unlocks a world of possibilities for cyclists as useless as I am.
Yeah, and I can attest that you truly are a useless cyclist. So if it can help you, then it can help anyone. Speaking of not useless cyclists, the second special guest we have on the show this week is Tom Southern himself. A noted professional turned sports director. I I think he must be up to about 10 years now as a sports director. So he's seasoned, extremely well seasoned. And he
doesn't look old enough, man of wax.
No, he always does the Ardennes, though, so I thought it'd be great to get him on. Learn a little bit more about these races and also tell us a little bit about Archie from his perspective. So let's listen to my chat with Tom. Welcome along, Tom Southam, Sports Director, EF Education Easy Post. Is that the name now? Has it changed? Am I way behind the times?
No, you're on the money, man. That's it.
Excellent.
It's not too many names.
Good. And where are you right now? Paint a picture for the listeners.
I am heaven on earth is where I am, Harry. I am
in Liège.
At the foot of La Redoute in the same hotel. I think you would have been to this hotel with us many, many moons ago, or visited us here. We have a hotel in the Place Philippe Gilbert in Remaux-Champs, at the very foot of La Redoute. So we are deep in the heart of it.
That's the hallowed ground. And to our listeners, the Place Philippe Gilbert is quite literally a tiny car park.
In the 8 years we've been coming here, there has been some residential properties that have popped up around the outskirts. So it's coming along, Place Philippe Gilbert.
Excellent. Quite right, befitting a man of his stature. Well, that's good you mentioned Philippe Gilbert, because I wanted to get you on because we wanted not just to talk about Philippe Gilbert, to talk about the Ardennes, and obviously he's one of the greatest to ever do it at these races. We're in Ardennes week, it's Monday. Well, first of all, would you count Brabant-Sapil as one of the Ardennes, or do you just count the three from Amstel through?
So they've moved it to Friday now. It used to be the Wednesday. Now they've moved it to Friday, and they're trying to squeeze it in. But to me, it's far from a real Ardennes classic. I mean, it just doesn't have the geographical sort of Ardennes part, and it also the climbs aren't anywhere near as hard. For me to make an Ardennes classic, you need those really, really hard heated climbs. It's still one of the ones. We've got the same team that does it now. It used to actually, Brabant-Sapil, we used to sort of have a half Roubaix leftovers and half Ardennes team. But now more and more it's going towards the Ardennes guys. So in the future, I think it will be. That being said, to win all four of them, it was there's the Ardennes Triple Crown, right? But then there was the very little known Ardennes, what would you call it? Quadrophenia Crown.
Yeah, the one that Philippe Gilbert famously did in 2011.
Yeah, amazing.
One of the great 10-day periods of cycling. I remember it was kind of like he'd done the three in a row, and it was like him against the two Schleck brothers, and he outfoxed them. I mean, unbelievable.
I don't know if anybody else has ever done it, but it's extraordinary to win. I mean, incredible.
Well, can you give us a rundown of what the three races are, and also, I guess, what makes them they're all part of a package, shall we say, but what makes them different and maybe each special in their own right?
So Amstel is 35 short climbs, which come pretty much non-stop, and then with increasing intensity towards the end of the race, defined by incredibly circuitous route on very small roads. It's a very technical race. You have to be very skilled to get there, and you have to stay fresh all day. And then Flèche Wallonne finishes now on the Mur de Huy, has done for the last 40 years. It's the 40th anniversary of finishing up there this year, which it's massively defined by the finish climb. I can't. You have to go back to the sort of mid-early 2000s to find when breaks used to make it. So that's kind of a short duration, very steep climb up to the finish line. And then Liège-Bastogne-Liège is 260k with a lot of climbing, 5,000 meters, increasing intensity, longer climbs than Amstel, but less. So there's 11 categorized climbs, but more actual climbing. So it goes much more in the direction of a pure climbers, strongman race. And so a guy for example, Michael Matthews, who was there at the finish of Amstel, we wouldn't expect to be able to finish of Liège, because it goes up that range towards climbers.
That was going to be my next question. What skills do riders need to be a great Ardennes rider? Even though, as you've said, there is a bit of a change throughout the week, but I think you more or less do see more or less the same riders at the pointy end.
That's why I find Philippe Gilbert's winning all four so interesting, because the characteristics are all different for what you need to win each race. I would say you have to be technically highly skilled, because when the climbs come in whichever race, there's a lot of small roads, and with the speed the peloton goes, you need to be very good at positioning. you have to have, I mean, for Liège, you just have to have a massive engine. And so, like, the guys who can race off plus 250k, a few and far between, you know, there's a big drop off.
Yeah.
You obviously have to be able to go uphill, but it doesn't finish on a climb. It's not a pure 40-minute climb like a tour stage might be. You have to be, I think Liège is the most demanding. Flèche has got very specific demands of, like, your sort of, basically your sort of 1 minute sprint power at the end of the race. Staying fresh, staying calm, those sorts of things. So you kind of, like, it's not a pure climber thing. I think you do have to be a bit more of sort of, I don't know, street smart, you know?
Yeah, but it's interesting that you do sometimes get these GC guys turning up and doing well at these races. Like, well, Rog's only done the race twice, but he won it. And obviously the Schleck brothers, like we said. So it does lean itself towards this more. Why do you think that is? Is that an anomaly?
No, because Lombardy's the same, or Lombardy's similar.
Yeah.
It's like, if you're a climber, you've got basically 2 or 3 options in the year to really excel in, like, a classic. There's so many other classics or semi-classics for the bigger guys or sprinters, and there's so few. And generally a GC rider is also a climber, because you have to be to, you know, the days of Indurain are gone. We call them a GC rider, but they, you know, they're just guys who can go fast uphill, you know.
So, who, without Gilbert aside, who are some of the great other Ardennes riders, and also maybe ones that you've seen? Because you tend to do this race every year, right? And you have done for a good, how long? Nearly a decade, should we say?
It's my 9th year now doing these races. So
yeah.
I think my personal favourite watching these races was Michele Bartoli at Liège. In 1998, he was away with 2 guys from the same team, Jalabert and Zuller, and he takes them apart, which was just incredible. And I'm just trying to think now of the people that I've seen. Obviously, I was racing Bastogne when Valverde won his first one, and I was DSing when he was winning his last one. I mean, he was like the king of Liège in my had a different finish
and Flèche.
And Flèche had a different finish then. And in recent years, to be honest, like seeing today on this course, it's like, you know, when does he want to go, sort of thing. Remco likewise. So I think the last time, they've only lined up once, am I right? And that's when
it was 2 years ago, and that's when Pog crashed.
So they've never head-to-headed over La Redoute.
No.
So I think that'll be, if you get a good Pog, pretty up there with as good a people, you know, kind of specialists as I can think of.
Talking about those two, it does make me think it must be bloody hard for the teams that don't, in this era of superstars, for teams that don't have one of these superstars on their team to beat them. How do you do it?
Ask Skelmoser, I guess.
Well, I was going to say that must give everyone hope.
Absolutely, but I think, you know, there was already kind of an inkling with the program with Pogačar doing, you know, Remco's come back from injury, so, you know, it's already incredible what he's done. But, like, how's the consistency going to go through the week? Pogačar's done a heavier program than usual with Roubaix, which I think clearly affected him, seeing how he went at Amstel. So there is a glimmer of hope, I think, in everybody's eye, actually. I think it's going to be really interesting now to see what happens and how everybody reacts to, like, the blood being in the water, particularly in the next 2 races.
Tell us about how it works in terms of picking a roster for these races, like, and talk us through EF's roster for these races.
So we actually have our team tends to be more suited to these races than it is to the cobbled races. I think it's something in the DNA of our team. We generally tend to have quite a lot of that mid-range climber. We have quite strong guys to choose from. If you're building a roster around, we basically build it around, you know, the best guy, and our best guy normally has a good chance of a podium at, say, Liège. And Liège is the one we generally tend to work for, and the other ones fall in line with that. Yeah. So we'd say, you know, Ben Healy, Nielsen Paulus, like in recent years, going back Mike Woods. You know, it's like, okay, this guy's in. Yeah. Who does he need with him? You know, we'd put Rigo in with Mike because he could get over the climbs. We've put Esteban in with Nielsen because of the same reason, because you need somebody later on in the race. And then earlier in the race, it's like, okay, what are the demands? There's a lot of kilometres before we hit, you know, there's 160k before we hit the real climbs. Who's really good at looking after the guys for that part? That's a really key ingredient. And then we need people who can get into the bottom of La Redoute in the right position. There's a big main road sort of that rushes into the bottom of La Redoute, which is really important to position on, so you need a skilled person there. And then in an ideal scenario, you have after Laredo more than one person. So it's finding them in the team. I think we've got it this year, and we've had it in the past where those people are naturally selected. And also because the season's so busy with cobble classics, they're itching to be racing.
Yeah,
they're getting going. It's the time of year. So I think these races kind of, for us, they select themselves, the teams, the lighter guys, plus, let's say, 4 heavy guys,
Tell me about Archie Ryan. He's had a really interesting start to his career. I mean, he almost didn't make it as a pro because of the knee injuries he's had, and then he was on Jumbo-Visma, and then you guys picked him up, or he was on their development team. It seems to me that in the future these could be races that suit him, given his characteristics. But I'd like to know your perspective and just, I guess, how he's been in terms of his first couple of years as a pro.
100%. I mean, last year as a neo-pro, I gave him the leadership of Flèche Wallonne. He was going very well. He had a cracking first season. But I firmly believe that race in particular, as he develops as a rider, is one that he should be contesting. And it's not a million miles away for him. Or, already on the form of last year and how well we know he can go already. But then in the future, he's obviously going to get better. The thing that I liked seeing most last year, he was 15th at Lombardia in his first year, which means he was still racing after that kind of magic 250k, and he did a really good job there. So that means for me that he should be able to then go, if you transfer that into Liège. I mean, he crashed at Liège last year, so we can't really judge it. We also can't judge his flesh because he had a flat tire on the run into Murderhu. So 100% he's a guy who we're putting a lot of trust and a lot of hopes into developing into a rider that will perform in this week on a super high level. And I think he's got the talent.
What's he like to work with?
He's great. He's a great kid to work with. He's good fun. He's a smart kid. He's good. He's good for the ambience of a team as well. He's interesting guy to chat to. For our team, it's one of the dynamics that we actually kind of value amongst riders.
His compatriot Ben, we have to mention him. He's really rocketed into the cycling public consciousness with his performances. He really unearthed a diamond there, Tom. Tell us something about Ben. What's he like to work with? I've seen the clothes he wears. He seems like he's got a bit of character. He does, yeah. I mean, yeah, Ben's great. He's I think, like you said, it's like he came in and he made himself into himself. So he came along and did the first year. He did all sorts of different races, cobbled races. He's got an incredible sort of confidence in himself, and he's very focused on what he wants to do and how he wants to get there. Kind of much more than I think probably his image would belie. If you saw him kind of wandering the hotel reception, but he's super focused. It doesn't get too phased, but he knows what he wants, and more and more you're kind of seeing a guy who really knows what he wants, and he's found it. He went away after his first season. He worked really hard to lose weight and to improve in certain areas, and I mean when he gets going, he's fantastic. People also really enjoy watching his racing because he keeps going and keeps attacking, and people like to see that. So he's really good for us because he does all of he does the results, but he also races in a way that suits what we want to project as a team. And seems like he's going well after his solo win the other week. Was that in Basque Country? Yeah. Which you were there, right? That was unreal. I mean, I loved hearing you talk about it on the communique last week. Yeah, your own little PlayStation race. There's not many. I don't think I've ever had a day where it's gone like that as a DS. In 13 years. So that was incredible. Hoping for more of the same in the coming days. All right, we've done all of the learning and all of the serious bits now. Let's be honest, Liège is the worst city in Europe. Would you agree or disagree with that? The worst city, yeah. I mean, it's the only place during a recon I've seen a live mugging. Exactly. It's funny because Roubaix, for people who don't know, is also a terrible city. It's rough. It's one of those places where you kind of go into a cafe and you sit down and you go, I'm going to have a beer here, and you kind of look around and you go, oh. It's like, well, I'm here now. I'm going to commit to it, but you don't feel particularly welcome or safe for most of the time you're drinking that beer. But that being said, there is a beauty to it. Yeah, for sure. And also the roads, like where you are, it's wonderful, all those little hills in the actual Ardennes, in the woods and the trees. It's fantastic. All right, another question is, are you a one-leg warmer or two-leg warmer kind of guy?
So funny.
So for reference, I used to make a YouTube series called EF Gone Racing, and Tom, that's how Tom and I kind of first met, was that I was the annoying guy with the camera along with Sam, fellow cameraman, and we would film and we would force them to put the GoPro inside the team car. So Tom, we had a perfect view of Tom's watching the race. And in that edition in 2019, there was a red hot Mike Woods. He was in great shape, but he took his leg warmer off before one of the. Let's be honest, it was way too late.
He was trying to take it off between La Redoute and Rochefoucauld, and he did.
Which is crazy. Let's be honest.
Not manage. No. That's like 35 k's to go till 25 k's to go.
And obviously then the race was on, and so he had to race the finale with only one leg warmer. And I remember watching the GoPro footage back, and your reaction to seeing that, and you're just like, what's he doing? He's only got one leg warmer. Was that the moment when you knew he wasn't going to win?
Do you know what? It really was, because it's like, it said to me that his mind was cluttered. You know, so like someone you're either going to do it and you're going to be totally cool when you're going to get both off and you're going to be done and you're calm and you know you can do it, or you're not going to do it. But his was like a half.
Yeah.
He's not in the right space.
That's a shame.
Mike was super at this race.
He was amazing.
He was second in 2018. And he was like a guy who's just like, he was second with us in 2018. I'm like, oh man, he's going to win it one day for sure.
Yeah.
And then it's just like,
same with Flesh as well.
Yeah, how he never won Flesh. I just don't know.
The other thing that struck me when we were filming that year was we were very privileged to watch your pre-race team talk, should we say, strategy meeting, and you invoked, it's all around the battlefields, Liège, and obviously at Bastogne there's a tank there, and you actually included a little bit of warmongering propaganda in your rousing team talk. No, there was a reason for it, but yeah, tell us about that.
It was personal history. You have to give a team talk that has an emotional connection with a story that people can get into. And our team doctor, who's American, Kevin Sprouse, his grandfather had fought in the Battle of the Bulge, and he very kindly gave me a picture of him that I used to animate my team meeting. I've since reduced the length of team meetings from that was quite a long one to say.
Not quite history hour. That was great, and shout out to Dr. Kevin, a lovely man.
Yep.
Tell us about this year's races. What are you expecting to see, aside from, let's say, obviously your own hopes for the race? And what have you seen, I guess, also from Amstel that maybe might lead in what stood out?
I'm super curious as to how Pogačar reacts to the next two races, because in theory he just needs to win by basically a bike throw. If he's tired, if he's running out of fumes, I could be wrong, because he might come back fresh. If he's tired, does he just knuckle down and go, right, we're just going to win these by any fucking means necessary, like as late as possible with whatever, and we get them in the books and we go? Or does he turn up and go, right, I'm going to go with a lap to go at Flèche Wallonne, and I'm going to show everyone that I'm still the boy? What happens next with that? Because if you think, maybe he's starting to think Remco's got his measure, you don't want that. You want to finish spring with that, one in the ascendance and one, because it's not far till the Tour and the next sort of phase of the year. So that's, to me, that's the thing that outside of my own team that I'm super interested in. Does it mean it's like suddenly this like feeding frenzy? Does Pog just go, actually, you know what, I'm not going to start either race? We don't even know yet. I assume he will. If the feeding frenzy does happen, who's going to benefit? And I mean, with my team, it's obviously Ben's good. I'd love to see him. He was fourth here 2 years ago. I'd love to see him get onto the podium in Liège. I'd love more than anything to win that race. But that's a big thing. Flèche is always a bit of a strange one. It just comes down to that final sort of sprint, which can often be a bit of a anticlimactic in the teams, because the best guy wins it. So yeah.
Yeah, but Stevie Williams won last year, and he certainly wasn't one of the favourites.
Yeah, but man, he was the best guy in those conditions. We had like the epic.
No, I'm not saying he wasn't, but it's it was still somewhat of a surprise beforehand.
Yeah.
Not if you're Mitch, obviously. He's Mitch's guy.
Yeah. Mitch had that covered.
As we all know. Anyway, blood in the water, 2 leg warmers, and hopefully beers in Liège and no muggings.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Tom.
Not a problem at all.
Good luck.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers.
All the best.
Oh, I love hearing from Tom, and Place Philippe Gilbert as well. What a place! If you haven't been, what are you waiting for? I mean, we're not sponsored by them, but get out there, get to that hotel, enjoy some sushi from the buffet. You know,
made from the hand of Philippe Gilbert.
Apparently, I mean, I've heard. Yeah, if not him, then
Stu and I, we've actually been to the Place Philippe Gilbert before.
We have
before this podcast, many years ago, many moons ago. Stu and I did this YouTube series called Race Radio, where we got in a camper van and drove to all the races as fans and tried to, should we say, inhale the culture of the sport. We opened our episode from Liège, Bastogne, Liège, from the Place Philippe Gilbert, a hallowed ground in cycling history. Of course it is, just a car park. And our opening shot was, well, Stu, do you want to set the scene for the listeners?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's about fans, isn't it? So we had a little picnic table, we had a couple of camping chairs, we had 3 camping chairs actually, and there was you, and there was me, and there was an old lady whose name, what was it? Can you remember?
I can't. I'm going to go with something like Francine. It was a good French-Belgian lady that. Well, anyway, as our listeners might know, the Liège-Bastogne Liège is known as La Doyenne, which means the old lady. And so we thought it'd be funny in our youthful idiocy to have an old lady with us at the intro. And I think that was the most uncomfortable I've ever made you feel, Stu, as we basically mugged off an old lady at the intro. But she took it like a champ. We did have a wonderful afternoon on La Redoute, which every year has the word Phil printed by his fan club up the climb. It was the scene of many of his most famous attacks.
One of my most favourite races that we went to, I would say, was that, just for the experience of, I mean, we camped in a field, then we trudge up the La Redoute, and it's like being at a music festival. Yeah. You're just drinking. I mean, we were blessed with beautiful weather as well, so we were drinking beers in the sun all day, and then got to watch racing.
It's brilliant. Yeah, I think that brings us more or less to the end of this episode. Thank you so much for listening, everyone. We hope you've enjoyed listening to Tom and Archie. If you like what Stu and I are doing, we also have another podcast that we do called Did Not Finish. So dig that out. That's every week. Comes out usually on a Tuesday or a Wednesday. So do give that a listen if you want as well. Yeah, we're joined by a famed statman, Killian Kelly. You can also get in touch with us here. If you email raceradio@lifeinthepeloton.com, you can send us your stories. In particular, I would encourage fans to get in touch. Tell us your favourite stories from the roadside, because, I mean, as Harry's mentioned already, we don't just love watching cycling, we love to get there and smell it, sometimes even taste it if we can. And we want to hear from similarly rabid fans. Get in touch. Lovely stuff. Thank you so much, Stu. Whisper it quietly. The Giro's coming. Oh, it's soon. It's coming. Grand Tour season is upon us. For now, Liège, Bastogne, Liège, and then we're away. Thanks, everyone. Ciao, ragazzi.
Attention, here we go. Let's take advantage of this. I'm Mitch Docker, and this is Life in the Pelotons Race Radio.